What's going on, guys? Magdallan here. I wanted to pop in and give you an update on my day one progression for last Epoch's 1.0 release. I'm trying out the Warlock. I've got some bleed shenanigans going on. I'll talk a little bit about the skills that I'm using and the actual build a little bit, but that has been going very smooth. What was not smooth was the launch. You hate to see it. I don't know if I've had as much trouble actually getting in and playing a game ever as I did in this case. I basically couldn't play for the first 6 to 8 hours, give or take, of the launch, and it seemed like maybe they were having some issue with their actual like net code or something like that. I don't know if it was a capacity issue. I feel like before 11th Hour Games had said that their budget for increasing server size was ample. And so, again, I don't really know what the situation is. I don't know if it was a capacity or just some bug that they didn't catch or whatever, but pretty rough. I saw quite a few people streaming that were wanting to play the game, but were instead playing that new, what is it, Deep Rock Survivors. And so that's kind of a shame. You hate to see such an anticipated launch kind of go a little bit sideways. But once I got in, uh, the game is running fairly smooth. As of now, it's 2:30 in the morning, just about, and the game's running smooth as butter now. But even after I was able to log in finally and play, I was getting as much as 5 minute loading screens between zones. And so while it was playable, there was, some significant trouble going on in terms of actually being able to progress through stuff. But all in all, I'm not that upset about it. I had some other stuff to do today, and I'm not in a huge rush to get through the campaign. I remember the monolith system being kind of mid the last time that I got in there, so I don't actually know if it's going to really grab me this time around, considering that in the patch notes, I don't remember them really making any huge additions or changes. I know there were some modifications to the way that monster health scales, and I think I saw a couple new monolith zones or something added, but no huge sweeping changes or additional systems at play. And so we'll have to see if the actual end game is something that I'm just going to grind for a few weeks before I get bored, or if it's going to be more of a level a character, test it out in the monoliths, and then just either level another character or move on and kind of take a break before the next Path of Exile League. And so the Warlock is pretty enjoyable. I'm running this I'm loosely following the max roll guide, and it's kind of I guess I would compare it in the way that it feels to maybe an Essence Drain Contagion type situation, where you're kind of running around and throwing these fissures on the ground, and then you're cursing stuff, and that does most of the work. And then you have these chaos bolts that you're spamming. And I've taken everything that I can to kind of make the chaos bolts and other damage proc this skill, Rip Blood, and that heals you and does some damage and whatever. And the build is shaping up to be fairly tanky and pretty enjoyable. At the beginning of the campaign, I just kind of grabbed a bunch of random stuff, mostly summons, and I was not digging that. But if you've watched the channel for any duration, I don't really, that's not my thing. I don't play summoner builds typically, and so I wasn't surprised that I wasn't immediately engaged with that. But once I kind of got the Warlock thing going and was able to set up sort of the final skill allocations, obviously I haven't gotten all the points yet, but the actual skills I'm using are not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is the trees and the points that are in there. So once I got that going, it was really enjoyable. You do have one summon, which is the big boner here, and I actually like the bone golem quite a bit. It's huge in comparison to, you just don't see a lot of ARPGs where you get very many really large minions. I'm sure there's a reason for that other than just they don't want them to cover up the screen. Maybe there's, I mean, who knows? I don't know what the reasons are, but it just seems to me that typically speaking, the minions that you get in these games are not typically huge. But this guy is. He's pretty big, and he takes aggro, and that works out pretty well. And then you've got a really nice, I mean, essentially it's teleport, and they just kind of renamed it to transplant in this case. And then, as I said, you've got the fissures and the chaos bolts, and then you're throwing out Spirit Plague as a curse. And pretty interesting build. Here is the tree so far. I just grabbed these 20 points here, and then the rest I've just been throwing into the Warlock tree for, the bleed stuff I mentioned before, and then I'm just starting to grab some additional defensive stuff down here. So pretty cool. I picked up one of these interesting items. I did not play in the patch where they actually released the Weaver's Will uniques, and so this was my first time encountering one of them, and I'm doing fire damage over time partially, but I think I'm almost entirely physical, so I don't think I got mods that are particularly advantageous to my build. But it is kind of cool that you can just equip one of these, and I think I started with like 14 Weaver's Will, and just every so often it would do a tooltip pop up, and one of these mods would either add another one of the purpley red mods on there, or it would level one of them up. And so I wish I had gotten more void resistance and less increased cold damage, but I'll probably hang on to this. I don't know how rare the ring is or how good the mods that I ended up with are, but an interesting concept where you pick the item up and then it levels up with you for a while before it runs out of Weaver juice. And then I'm just using the gloves that you get from a quest. And just a couple zones ago, I picked up this hazel root. So that was a nice damage increase, and it's got a little bit of defensive stuff going on there as well. Otherwise, just trash. I've been, crafting on some advantageous mods as I get them. But, I mean, that's basically where we're at. I am level 31, so not as far as I would have liked to have gotten. I was hoping to get much further into the campaign, but as I said, it's 2:30 in the morning. There was such a long wait to actually get in and play that I'm going to just call it a wash and probably finish the campaign tomorrow and try and get into some monolith action then. But that's basically all I've got for you guys today. If you are on the fence about trying the Warlock, I would say get in there and give it a go. I don't know if I'd say it's overpowered. I haven't really played the game enough to make that distinction, but of the 3 or 4 characters that I've leveled up across the few patches that I played, this one has definitely been the smoothest, and there's been the least trouble with bosses, and the clear is nice, all of that stuff, very well rounded in that sense. So if you're kind of on the fence about it, I'd say give it a shot. And other than that, I hope you guys are having fun in the new patch, and I will be back very soon with another video. I hope to see you then. I appreciate you.